Hi, this is Kim with Scholarly Pursuits. So my friend reached out to me one day and she said, "Hey, you want to go have lunch at this restaurant in Savannah, Georgia called Mrs. Wilkes Dining Room." Now look at the Spanish moss in Savannah, Georgia. The tour guide on the trolley told us that sometimes that moss has chiggers in it. I remember getting chiggers as a child walking through the grass. But anyway, so we head to Savannah, just kind of on the spur of the moment. We make flight arrangements. She's retired. I'm not. I put in leave, and we head to Savannah, Georgia. I had been there before with family, but this was going to be a different trip. So, this is the Savannah College in Arts and Design sign, and you'll see it everywhere. They have such an impact on the community. They own all kinds of properties and locations for the students, so they've really contributed to the community. Now, so the first place we're going to go is to this Mrs. Wilkes Dining Room because we want to make sure we did visit there. They have limited operation. They're open from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. They usually have a long line. We thankfully the day we went, we didn't have to wait on a long line. We got in pretty quickly. I don't remember exactly what the meal cost, but I think right around $30. Now look at this food, y'all. This is the most important part because this is probably the best part of one of the best parts of the trip. There were so many, but it's Southern cooking at its finest. Now I've been to a lot of soul food kind of Southern cooking places, but the quality of this food is so good. It was a family style dining experience, and so we really enjoyed talking to the people from all over the country that had come. Look at those macaroni, mashed potatoes, and they had macaroni and cheese, my favorite, and fried chicken and cucumber salad. It just was, you got to go because it was really, I will say, it was worth the flight. That's black eyed peas to go, and who does that? But I'm at the place in my life now where I want to have these kinds of experiences, and I am so glad that I got to go. So we ate, we chatted. We found out other places to visit while we were there because, you just hear different things. I had researched this trip, but I wanted to be a little different than the normal going to Forsyth Park or going along the waterfront because I had been there before. I wanted to see what I call the unbeaten path, and you'll get it in this video, I promise you. So we went to this Mrs. Wilkes Dining Room. There were other people that we visited with a longer stay, and they had never heard of it, so we encouraged them to go. Now we're on the way to Fort Pulaski. It really wasn't on my bucket list, but my friend had read about it, and on the way we see this farm stand. Ooh, that fruit was so good. Look at those peaches. And so we got some peaches. I got some chocolate chip cookies, of course. And it just was a nice little stop before we get to the fort. Now, I love Black history, and our tour guide at this fort was a former school teacher. So if you know anything about teachers, a lot of times they love education, they love history and things like that. Not all of them, but this particular one did. But the significance of the Black history for me was wonderful. You got to hear about, we were told that Savannah did not participate in the Civil War, but this fort is outside Savannah. Now, there's these signs about these red ants. I'm going to jump around a little bit. And I was kind of nervous because you would see little patches in the ground as you're walking around the fort. And they said, you got to be careful about those red ants because you step in one and they really hurt when they sting you. And I was like, oh my goodness. But luckily, I didn't get stung by a red ant. Now, this is the moat around the fort. We're on tour with the park ranger, former teacher, and she talks about the history of the fort and how the fort was bombarded during the Civil War and how slave women and children helped make the bricks, and you can even see the fingerprints. There will be a picture a little further along in my video where you can see the fingerprints of the children and women that made the bricks to help support the building of this fort. And I don't know, that just seems so powerful to me. And I spent a lot of time near the barracks where those bricks are in this fort, just looking at those fingerprints. I can't imagine a child having to spend hours making bricks with their parents, and it just kind of took my heart a little bit. But I enjoyed, we spent a little bit of time at this fort. We stopped at another fort location kind of on the way too. But if you know anything about Savannah and the surrounding area, it's the south. It's the weather was beautiful. And we just took it all in. We walked around. We thought about the stories that the tour guide had told us. We wanted to make sure that we saw, the holes in the wall from the artillery, the thumbprints from the kids and the women. I just thought this view out the fort was pretty cool. There's the thumbprints. And so I encourage you, this is the barracks where the soldiers stayed. If you get a chance to visit this fort, I've been to the fort in St. Augustine, I think, and I've been to one in Charleston. But for some reason, this one just was a little more impactful to me. And so we enjoyed our visit here. And as we continue to walk along, just enjoy the sights I'm sharing with you. Now, the next place we go to is Tybee Island. So we tried to get it all in. We were only there like, I want to say 2 nights, 3 days, parts of 3 days. But we stopped at the beach. You know, we kind of had to. I love picking up shells. So I picked up a few shells. And it's just so pretty. It was just so pretty. So many people. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't crowded either. I guess it must have been after the tour season, after the kids had kind of gone back to school. But look how beautiful that scenery is. Now, another thing we did was take a trolley tour ride. And I love to take a tour ride when I visit a city. Usually I do it the first time I visit. I've been here before. But this is me in the front. And then my friend Alice is sitting in the back. We're on the trolley. You can see it's not real busy. But we visit this restaurant called The Gray. Now, the night before, my friend had sent me the link. And she said, you watch this Netflix video, which I did. And it was a documentary about a chef, Mashama Bailey. Now, this is one of the workers at her restaurant. The restaurant is called The Gray. It's located in a former Greyhound bus station. And the significance for African American history is that, you know, a lot of times African Americans couldn't ride the bus. If they did, they had to sit in the back and all that kind of thing. But this is a restaurant now. She co-owns Mashama Bailey. The Netflix series is Chef's Table Season 6, Episode 1. And they talk about the ice pops that she makes. But this is Chef Bailey. We got to meet her dogs too. She's got some beautiful dogs. And it was just kind of a spontaneous thing. We were walking by and I was like, after seeing the documentary, I was like, I really would like to meet her, but the shop was closed. I mean, the restaurant was closed. But lo and behold, we asked that gentleman, hey, can we meet the chef? She happened to be in, and she was so gracious. Now, here we're at the city market. And I just like dogs and animals. I like doors. I just have kind of a lot of little things I like when I travel. So I just put those dogs in there. But this is the city market. It's a historical market. It's 4 blocks. Open air market, 17 built since the 1700s, includes shops, restaurants, you know, touristy kind of stuff. And we did buy some things there. Anytime I see a truck or a car, I'm definitely going to take a picture for my dad. Now, this is one of the 2 churches that we visited, St. John's Church. And as we didn't really have a whole lot of time, as you can imagine, so we're kind of trying to get all these stops in. But this is a beautiful church. I love sanctuaries. I love the stained glass windows. I love to just sit and pray and just, you know, take it all in when I go to these places where they have these beautiful churches. But anyway, the best part of this was the docent. And he was like, have y'all heard about the First Baptist African American church? And I was like, no. I mean, in all my research, now this is one of the squares in this is one of the squares on the tour that you'll see. Savannah has lots of squares. We also, and I'm jumping around, I know, but we also went to the Lucas Theater. The Lucas Theater, it was built in 1921. Arthur Melville Lucas. They have that Wurlitzer pipe organ, and they have a recital. I think it's on Wednesdays. And we got to go to the recital and listen to the organist play the organ. We got to do a tour of the theater. All this was free. And then we also got to see one of those silent movies. So if you're there, if you're on a Wednesday, make sure you check the dates and times in this video because, you know, those things can change. But if you get a chance, if they're on a Wednesday, try to stop in and see that recital at the Lucas Theater, which is owned and managed, I believe, by the Savannah College of Arts and Design. Now, the next thing we did was a couple doors down is this shop where they make the French macarons. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I'm not really a fan of them so much, but I am a fan of the shop. I am a fan of the beautiful colors. Look at that. The display. Now, my friend, she got a dozen and she loved them. And I've seen them before, but they have this bakery. They do ship, and it's right near the Lucas Theater, and it's worth a visit. The smells are amazing. The beauty of the shop, the proprietor or the cashier, she was so gracious, and just look at the prettiness of the shop. So I just thought it was pretty just to walk through there, to see the displays, to see the pictures on the wall, to smell the smells. Then we went to the American Prohibition Museum. Now, they have a speakeasy in this museum where you can order drinks. Now, I don't drink, but I could have probably got a non-alcoholic drink. But you'll see later on in this video, my friend, she goes up to this door and so a voice on the other side asks her for a code or some kind of secret word or something, and so she has to give the word, and then we go into like this back room, like you remember back in the day when there was a time when they prohibited the making of alcohol and spirits and wine and stuff like that, and so this is museum is all dedicated to that. It's a fascinating, really interesting museum. Actually, it wasn't really on my bucket list of places to go, but once I got there, of course, I can find something interesting about everything. Look at these steps that have words on it, sayings and stuff. Scott Fitzgerald and stuff, and just phrases. So it was an interesting museum to walk around. Like I said, we did go into the speakeasy and kind of walk through that and the history of that time period. And so we really enjoyed the tour at the museum as well. And then I think the next place we're gonna go, we did eat at some of the different restaurants. I had a burger at the B&D burger place. It was okay, just a garden variety burger. I'm going to let you continue on through the museum. I got quite a few video and slides here. And then next up, I think we might be headed to the First African American Baptist Church. And I got a lot to say about that in a short amount of time. So enjoy. You did it? Okay, now.
What do you want? Who sent you?
Gus sent me.
Gus sent you.
Gus sent me.
Yeah. All right. Come on.
I didn't get a picture of the door, but I have video. I'll send it to you.
The repeal of Prohibition during the Depression would have thrown tens of thousands of federal employees out of work. However, the government turned their energies, as well as the courts, jails, police officers, and investigators, in the war on alcohol, to the war on recreational drugs.
That's funny.
Short, leg-bearing flapper skirts. It was a movement that swept the nation. Home dinner parties and late nights out that included females.
This was one of my favorite parts of the trip, the first African Baptist church. Now, it was completed in 4 years in 1859. The second African Baptist church was for free people of color. They didn't want to worship with the slaves, which I thought was kind of sad. But the first Baptist church in 1859 was built by slaves. At one point, they needed $1,500 and they needed it in 10 weeks. Some of the slaves re-enslaved themselves so that they could come up with the money. What a powerful sacrifice. The slaves had to work at night after working at the plantations during the day. They have a quilt there. They have stained glass windows with the founders. And this is one of the first one of the Negro Bibles. Just a beautiful experience. If you get a chance, you got to stop through this church and see the tour.